What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte now states that he needs more time for training. He needs the date pushed back to at least May instead of April the 13th. And of course, we know that AJ has sent a formal offer to Jarrell Big Baby Miller. If you look at it, deals offers have been sent out to do two different guys. I mean, that's nothing out of the ordinary. Okay, none of that is out of the ordinary. Because that's how Eddie does things. Eddie will send a contract to a guy, have him on standby like he's doing Jarrell Big Baby Miller, right? And because Dillian Whyte was the quickest offer or whatnot, or was the first call or the first pick, I guess obviously now, because the first pick, which Anthony Joshua said, it was Ortiz, then Whyte, then Miller. Okay. So I don't know why it hasn't, if that's the case, why hasn't a offer ever been sent to Luis Ortiz? Because it's been confirmed. Luis Ortiz has never received anything from Anthony Joshua's team at all. So it's always been Dillian Whyte and Jarrell Miller. Okay. Well, Dillian Whyte, he wants more time. And my thing about Dillian Whyte, okay, you can look at it two ways. You can say, well, if you're going to fight Jarrell Miller, it's not going to be on April 13th anyway, so you might as well push the date back for me since I'm going to be your opponent. But the whole idea is to be your opponent on the 13th. Okay, that's the whole idea, because it's a slot that has been set since September. Okay, this date has been set twice, 2 dates in advance. It's supposed to be for Deontay Wilder. If he knew that, he knew that date was always on the calendar of Anthony Joshua. If he wanted to be a part of that, if he had any kind of indication or desire to be a part of that, he would have known, let me start training now. Let me stay in half-ass shape after I beat Chisora, after the Chisora 2 fight, and be ready for whatever when January comes. This is January. This is almost February. So he knew, instead of going over here and looking for dates over there, PBC, which nothing wrong with that, but it's like, dude, you got to stay in shape. Now it comes off as an excuse to me. You know what I mean? That's what it looks like to me, because it's like, dude, you knew what it is. This is business. It's your business. It's your job to be in shape, especially if you're anticipating a fight of this magnitude, a rematch fight, a fight that your mouth should water when you think about that particular fight. No homo. You know what I mean? A fight that you really want to fight. Okay? So it's like, now you're saying you need more time. It's weird to me. That's absolute weird. And then if I'm Anthony Joshua, I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I go stateside. You know what I mean? Because now you're just making it easier for Miller's camp, because they've already more than likely said yes. You know what I'm saying? All they got to do is sign the dotted line. That's it. You know what I mean? And they sign the dotted line, the fight's set. When this contract's signed, that's a wrap. Okay? There is no going back for that. So it just is really up to Dillian Whyte on how much does he really want this fight. Does he want it? Oh, I need 11 weeks to train. And I'm like, dude, if you knew that in advance, why didn't you plan in advance? It makes no sense to me. Had to counterpunch that. And everyone's talking about Jarrell Miller, Dillian Whyte. That's not what AJ said. Okay, AJ said Luis Ortiz, then Dillian Whyte, then Jarrell Miller, in that order. Okay, there's a reason you say things in a particular order, because that's what he said first. Okay, that's if there was no Deontay Wilder fight. We know there's no Deontay Wilder fight, because there is a fight that he's tied up with Fury. So we know that. So I don't know why. Yes, I don't want to hear, oh, Ortiz is fighting Christian Hammer. Yeah, that's in March. Okay. Yeah, he could fight in April the 13th if they sent him a contract. You see what I mean? See, there's something really wrong with you. I know it's easier to make it with Jarrell because he's on the zone, but you think Ortiz wouldn't fight on the zone? You know what I mean? Do you think that fights like that couldn't be made. See, if you think fights like that can't be made, you're delusional, because these fights can be easily made. It's just something about Ortiz that's like, was it wrong style? Is it a high risk, low reward? Is it, you know what I mean? It has to be something like that. You know, and they had to be looking at maybe the Deontay Wilder fight. You know what I mean? Look at this quote on 50-year-old man beating up on this young kid that's hanging over him like a drunken palm tree. Well, was that maybe a concern? Maybe, maybe not. It's just, it leaves it open for discussion, people, because you're looking at, they're squabbling over two dudes, and I'm like, well, these weren't even the top dudes. You had Deontay first, then Ortiz, right? Then Dillian Whyte, then Jarrell Miller. So why are we fighting over the last of the two, right? If you couldn't get Deontay Wilder, you sure as hell well bet you could have got Luis Ortiz. But the question I have is, why wasn't anyone or why wasn't anybody talking about Luis Ortiz? And see, the problem is you have criticizers of AJ, right? I counterpunch anybody on this channel because people need to be counterpunched. They need to be counterpunched. They need to be criticized. Things need to be analyzed. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you know, people talk about the LDBC. Yeah, a lot of those dudes are full of shit. I know that. But if they come up with any reason or any way to bash AJ, they will. But if AJ gives them a formidable reason, a logical reason to get bashed, he's going to get bashed. You know, I don't bash a person just because, oh, he's this or that. I counterpunch him because I'm trying to figure out why is he doing this particular thing. And in this situation, we got Dillian Whyte, which is a good opponent, but it's a rematch, right? Now we got Jarrell Big Baby Miller, an undefeated fighter from the States. Okay, Joshua wanted to come stateside anyway. Why does he do that with Ortiz? Ortiz is fighting stateside next time. You know, I mean, the venue's not set, but I'm pretty sure. But I guarantee you this, he'll fight Anthony Joshua. Why wouldn't he? More money, more opportunity, more exposure. You know what I mean? Why not come to the U.S. and fight Luis Ortiz? You know, and a lot of people like, man, why you talk about Luis Ortiz? Why do you always talk about Luis Ortiz? Because Luis Ortiz was first, according to Anthony Joshua. Now, I didn't say that. Anthony Joshua did. Okay? So when he said that, of course, boom, you know, it's going to get reported. You see what I'm saying? So then when his name hasn't even come up, and the only excuse is, oh, well, he's fighting Christian Hammer. He could break that contract. He could get out of that fight. Here's Landy Lara got out of a fight when he got the opportunity to fight Canelo Alvarez. You see what I'm saying? He already had a fight booked. So these things happen when it comes to fights. You get a bigger contract. Hey, you know what? We're going to call it off because we want a bigger fight. That happens all the time. You know what I mean? That's opportunity. That's just what it is. But back to Dillian Whyte, I just think this is an excuse now because he knew when that April 13th date was. He knew that when he knocked out Chisora. Okay, so if Anthony Joshua comes over here and fights Jarrell Big Baby Miller, so be it. He will miss his opportunity, and he might miss it for the next year or so because we don't know what will happen with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. And whoever wins that, if Fury comes over here and outboxes Deontay Wilder, so we already know, boom, that fight could be made late in the year. And where does that leave Dillian Whyte? Out. Okay? Now, Dillian Whyte, what he could do, he could fight Luis Ortiz later in the year if something like that did transpire. If one of the big three, right, fight each other. And it ain't Fury and Deontay for the third time. I hope to God that doesn't happen, right? But, yeah, I mean, I think Dillian Whyte is just making excuses because he figures he can play hardball. He figures that, you know what, they don't have no one else. You know what I mean? But look, here's the thing. If Eddie Hearn really paid attention to what Anthony Joshua desired by picking Ortiz, this could be a different thing. You know what I mean? Let's make a fight happen that hasn't happened already. So, yeah, I'm for the Jarrell Miller-Anthony Joshua fight. Why? Because they haven't fought. Why do I want to see Ortiz and Joshua? Because they haven't fought. Do I really necessarily want to see Dillian Whyte and Anthony Joshua 2? No. I didn't want to see Dillian Whyte and Chisora 2. I didn't want to see Pacquiao Marquez 4, 3, 2. I didn't want to see any of those again. I didn't want to see Bradley Pacquiao 3 times. I don't want to see a redundant trend in the sport of boxing. I don't want it done because I've seen it done and it stinks. Okay? So as far as Dillian Whyte, yeah, he's the front runner or whatever, but he is asking for too much money on top of that, which is a good thing if he feels that they ain't got nowhere to go, right? But obviously they do if they're offering Jarrell Miller a contract. So Dillian Whyte needs to check himself, I feel, and needs to take the money, take the date. And if he doesn't, and here's the thing, he gets knocked out, it's going to be an excuse. It's going to be another excuse. Well, I didn't have the proper training. I didn't have the training. These jokers, I had to take the fight. I'm a dog. I'll do the, you know what I mean? So that's what we'll have in this particular situation. So to save face, I think Anthony Joshua should just fight Jarrell Big Baby Miller and call it a day. See you stateside at Madison Square Garden. Anyway, you guys tell me what you think. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been counterpunched. Peace.